we got this color here, and when we built our section over here, you can see that the rock came out too dark, too much towards the grays, and really doesn't reflect what we have in the rest of the layout. So we're trying to match the color. The paint that was used originally is no longer available to Bill. He doesn't remember what he did. It was a number of years ago. So what I did was I grabbed some paints that were in the reddish orange tones. There's some burnt umber, some burnt sienna, orange, red, and a yellow, a dark yellow. So that gives me kind of the spectrum. I hope I can get a match somehow by just starting to pull that mix together. Now if I look at that, the most common colors in there are somewhere between the orange and the burnt sienna. So I'm just going to grab some of that and some of that and mix it together. Now you can still see that it needs a bit of a golden amount to it, so I'm going to add some yellow to try to create a golden kind of look. And it's starting to look a little bit lighter than it was before, so just add a bit more, maybe a bit of red, just to brighten it up a bit, and a little bit more orange. And now we just want to touch a little brown into it to give it more towards the brownish color. A little more, maybe even just more up on this side. That's pretty close there. So we're going to just try painting some of that on the rock over here to see how it turns out. We got a nice dark spot over here, so let's just start dry brushing some of that color. Now it looks pretty bright. That's okay.
Want some water?
We'll just put some more brown into it. So as I'm working with the colors I'm just adding different colors to it to try to get more and more to the tone that I want. I'm finding by adding a little bit of this burnt umber into the mix that it is toning down the orange and is starting to bring it more and more into the color that you see over there. One of the questions I have, Bill, is, you know, the earth that you used, or the dirt colors, like the actual raw earth, the reddish tone stuff, you've got some of that, right?
Yeah, I've got some of that, yeah.
If we mix some of that into the paint, have you got fine stuff?
The fineness is not that fine.
I mean, it'll give it some rough tone, but nevertheless it'll start to color what's there. So now taking those bright colors, you can see that it's starting to change tone just by adding the raw umber to the color mix.
There's my missing track cleaner.
It's starting to look more like that color.
Or that's the finest I've got. Okay.
You mind if I use that container you have there?
Go ahead.
Okay. I may just want to dab into it a bit and push it in like that. So I'm just taking some of the soil color and putting it on the brush with the paint and stabbing it into place. And what that should do is introduce some of that earth tone color, almost like a different style of pigment. You see how it's just on the brush there, and I'm just stabbing it in. And it should stick there because of the acrylic. And I can dry brush the surfaces with some of the yellow ochre as well, which brings it even more so into the golden tones. that look more like your color now?
Yeah, once it dries out, it'll be lighter too.
Yeah. And it's okay to add some ochred highlights here and there. You can really see the contrast there now. As you can see how bright that is when we add it in without the dark brown on top. Let me just get some more water here. Wet it down a bit. And add some brown into it. And some yellow. Some brighter yellow. Just keep changing the tones. Keep it nice and moist here, let it run down. Darken it up a bit with some of the darker brown. And just keep working it, working it, working it. As you can see, as it's starting to dry, it's starting to absorb into the plaster. Do your trees come out easily out, or am I going to have to work behind them there, Bill?
Well, let's see. I don't guarantee anything.
If they don't come out, that's okay. I'll just work behind. Oh, that's good.
Now I gotta find the holes again.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just pouring some of Bill's earth tones that he's used for his scenery over top of the wet paint. And what happens is the acrylic and the wet paint, the dirt will adhere to it on the upper edges, which is what happens in reality is you end up with any of the crumbling rock that falls down that basically gets in the nooks and crannies. And it changes the tone of all of the paints to match more the earth tones that you have on your layout. So when you look at this part that I did here right now, and you check it out against the rest of the layout down the way there, you get a better match. You see that, Bill?
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, you've got to put a little bit of green growth in there too, which is another thing I'm going to have to work on.
Sure, for that's for sure. So now you can see the difference between the upper level, which is the old color, and the new level colors down below. And if you find that you get those initial hits of color like you saw when I first pushed it in there that are too bright, then just tone it down with the darker browns and use the earth that you're putting on for your scenic material into the mix, and the color starts to match more. And as it dries, of course, it dries lighter and it looks a little bit more realistic. Amazing, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Right, what do you think? Does that look closer?
It looks much better, because that, that other stuff was too dark, too black.
Yeah, and now you've got your red tones. So let's do the upper level next.
Okay.
So, Bill, it's been a while since we've done a video.
Yes, it's been a little bit of time. Finally got the foreground finished, got the trees in, spent a lot of time down here with all kinds of debris and good stuff to make it look more realistic. Did the same thing again here, just take junk and throw it in, make it look right. What's happening now is I'm going to stop.
You're going to stop. Take a break.
Yeah. You know, in space there's that phenomenon known as a black hole.
Yeah.
Well, here's my black hole.
Right.
Now, you and I have talked about it, and I talked to Joe Foose about it when he was visiting. But I've also been thinking about the late John Allen. Some of the things he did back in the 60s and that. And yeah, there's some ideas perking around. But I promise you one thing.
What's that?
There will be no dinosaurs on the layout. There will be no dinosaurs on flat cars or being used as pack animals.
Right.
John was very good at that. I stopped it. All right. There won't be. No, I think I'll have aliens though. I'll bring some starships in, star cruisers and stuff like that. I'll be up to date, you know.
Right.
Silliness aside, I'm doing a lot of thinking about this.
Yeah.
Nothing's carved in stone yet. No real ideas have been figured out yet. So I'm just going to walk away from it.
Okay.
That's not meaning I'm not going to stop working on it. And I may slip into the dark side, as some people call it, and disappear into the basement for a while.
Well, that's all right. It's winter time here, and it's normal model railroading territory for a lot of folks. But hey, you were working outside in the summer and building a new branch, and then as you were working towards the fall, you managed to get all of this done before the op sessions.
Yeah, and then I managed to walk away from it for a good chunk last winter and did something else.
Yeah.
And I may do the same thing this year, just walk away and go do something else for a while. You got to keep in mind, I've been working on this since the middle of July.
Yeah.
And I've worked on it every day, except for when I took 8 days to go to Colorado and play on real trains.
Yeah.
Real narrow gauge.
And you were down at the narrow gauge convention.
And then I was off 5 days for the narrow gauge convention.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have worked on this every day, either here or in the shop or whatever had to be done. So I think I'm starting to OD on the whole project, and it's time to back off and go do something else for a while.
Well, you sure get a lot more done than most folks. I mean, you do have a really good dedication towards this, for sure.
Some people tell me I'm just plain nuts. But I have thoughts here based on some of the discussion you and I had, based on some of the discussion that I had with Joe.
Yeah, some of the online input.
And again, going back to what John Allen did way back when. So I've done nothing here until I get back into gear. Then I'll come back. This is Banta's boiler house out of the Ridgeway package. That's going to go here. I want to put some other debris here. And we actually talked about doing something over top here.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of ideas flowing around, and I'm going to take time and think about it before I do anything.
Right.
Because it will be another big job. I will also have to change all of this.
Yes.
No tunnels going in.
Of course.
And this will change a bit. So my thinking as I've gone along through this whole process has changed time and time again when I realized that my thinking wasn't exactly going to do what I wanted it to. Like originally I was talking about putting buildings and all that in here. But when I got the big trestle in and just saw how impressive it was.
Sure.
And you got a train going out, over that, and it's just so bloody impressive that I didn't want to start clowning it with a tank farm down here for an oil car, and I didn't want to start putting a whole bunch of other stuff in here, like an office building and all that.
That would just take away from the impression of the big trestle scene.
It would take away from the whole scene.
Yeah.
This in itself is going to be enough challenge to do.
Yes.
But I think with a little bit of careful thought, a little bit of mucking around, we can come up with something that's going to look good. How it's going to be finished yet? Don't know. We'll see.
We're going to run a train over this beast and have a look at what it looks like these days for the operator. I know in the last couple of operation sessions that people really got excited about coming through this section and running a train over this trestle. The whole scene with the depth created by the painted backdrop really made the room much bigger.
Well, it's amazing how much it has changed just by putting the trestle in the proper length. And when you look at a small engine like that, it's so high in the air, it's about 70 feet off the ground. It just looks so impressive and real. That's why I didn't want to start cluttering the scene with buildings and all that down here. This makes it look much, much better.
That's for sure. So we're going to have the passenger stop on the trestle so you can do a bungee jump. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Vancouver Island. I don't think they do that anymore.
I think I'll pass on bungee jumping. I don't need to be stretched. You know, when you see the train like this or a freight train going over a trestle and all through this scene, it makes all the blood, sweat, and tears worth it, because it just looks so much better than what I had before.
What's nice too is it's something you just can continue to putz at if you want to add a little detail here or there.
What do you think?